Hello children, how are you? I hope you are safe at home. In the previous online session, we have already studied about few topics of the lesson improvement in food resources. Today we are going to discuss improvement in crop yield, crop variety improvement and crop production improvement. So let us see. First is about improvement in crop yield. Crop yield can be done by three main activities, that is crop variety improvement, crop production improvement and crop protection management. But in this online session we will study only two, that is crop variety and crop production improvement. Let us see about crop variety improvement. It is about how we can develop new variety of any crop. It is done by two methods, that is hybridization and genetic engineering. In hybridization, there is crossing between two genetically dissimilar plants. As a result of hybridization, we can obtain some useful characters like disease resistance, product quality, response to fertilizer, early flowering and early maturity, as well as high yielding crops. Hybridization may be done between different varieties, and this is called as intervarietal hybridization, between different species of same genus, that is called as interspecific hybridization, or it can also be done between two different genera, that is called as intergenic hybridization. The given figure shows about hybridization and genetically modified crop. Hybrid vigor may contain some desirable characters, whereas in genetically modified crop, there is introduction of desired genes which alter the chemistry of DNA of parent plant. As a result, new crop, that is GM crop, genetically modified crop, is developed. Let us see what are the different steps of hybridization. First step is selection of parents with desired qualities. Second step is removal of the stamens from the female flower, and this removal of stamen, that is male part, is called emasculation. Third step is collection of pollen grains from the male flower. After that, dusting of pollen grains on the stigma of female flower is done. Then the mother plant is covered by polythene bag or butter paper, and this process is called as bagging. Now we will collect the mother seeds from the mother plant, and then there is selection and growing of better varieties which are obtained from hybridization. As we have earlier seen that another way of improving crop variety is by genetic engineering, and is done by introduction of desired genes to obtain genetically modified crop. Now children, the question arises, why crop variety improvement is done? It is done due to various reasons. First is for higher yield, means to increase productivity of crop per acre. Crop variety improvement is done for biotic and abiotic resistance. means such crops are resistant to insects, diseases as well as resistant to drought, salinity, heat, cold, etc. The given figure shows about tall and dwarf plant. You can observe the differences between these two types of plant. Due to crop variety improvement, we can also change the maturity duration of a crop. We can reduce the duration between sowing and harvesting so that farmers can grow many crops during the whole year. We can also produce such a crop which can be grown in different climatic conditions. That is, it can be able to adapt itself in any climate. Some desirable agronomic character can also be obtained by crop variety improvement. The important agronomic characters are tallness and more branching for fodder crop and dwarfness for cereal crops. Besides this, there are so many agronomic characters which are desirable like high yielding, early flowering, early maturity, etc. Now next we will learn about what does crop production improvement includes. It includes nutrient management, irrigation and cropping management. Meaning thereby that when we improve the nutrient management, irrigation and cropping management, then we can be able to increase the production of crop. We will learn all these one by one. So first is about nutrient management. We all know that plants gets nutrient from air, water or soil. Altogether 16 nutrients are required by the plant for proper growth and development. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are supplied. Water supplies hydrogen and the remaining 13 nutrients are obtained from the soil. 6 nutrients out of 16 are required by the plants in large amount and they are called as macronutrients. So, what are macronutrients, children? Those nutrients which are required by the plants in large amount is called macronutrients. Example of macronutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulfur. The other 7 nutrients are required by the plants in small quantity. So they are called as micronutrients. So what are micronutrients? Those nutrients which are required by the plants in a small quantity, then they are called as micronutrients. Now it is clear about macro and micronutrients. Example of micronutrients are iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum and chlorine. We can enrich soil by supplying nutrients in the form of manure and fertilizers. Now let us see what are the criteria for essentiality of nutrients. There are 3 criteria for essentiality of nutrients. First is that in the absence of element, plant will not complete its life cycle. Second is the requirement of element is very specific and it cannot be replaced by other element. Third is that there is direct correlation between nutrient and plant metabolism. Now it is about manure. Manure can be easily prepared by decomposition of plant and animal waste and contain organic matters as well as nutrients. It helps in increasing the fertility of soil and also helps to reduce the use of fertilizers. Farm waste can be recycled to form manure. Thus, it also helps in protecting the environment. Manures are classified into two types, that is into compost and green manure. The given figure shows about the production of manure. Next is about compost. So it is formed by decomposition of plants and animal waste in a compost pit that is rich in organic matter and nutrients. Whenever compost is prepared by using earthworm, particularly red earthworm, then it is called as vermicompost. Preparation time of vermicompost is less than the simple compost. The given figure shows compost and vermicompost. You can see here that in vermicompost, red earthworm is used for fast decomposition. Now let us see about green manure. Green manure is prepared in the crop field itself. Before sowing seeds in field, some green plants like sunham, guar, that is cluster bean, are mixed in the soil by plowing. These plants turn into green manure and it is rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, which are essential nutrients of plant. The green manure crop are turned into the field in tender stage, that is at very young stage, about 6 to 8 weeks only. These crops should be completely decomposed in the crop field before sowing the main crop. This figure shows about green manure and fertilizer. So the next topic is about fertilizer. Fertilizers are produced commercially and chemical in origin. They are rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and helps in increasing the productivity of crop, but can be used in required amount. Otherwise, it can reduce the fertility of soil and also causes water pollution. There are lot of differences between manure and fertilizers. So, let us see here. Manure, biological in origin, whereas fertilizer, chemical in origin. Manure can improve the texture of soil, whereas fertilizer do not improve the texture of soil. Manure increases the water holding capacity, whereas fertilizer do not increases the water holding capacity. Manure is obtained by slow decomposition of plant residue and animal waste, whereas fertilizer is obtained commercially by combining different elements. Manure is not nutrient specific, whereas fertilizer is nutrient specific. This is one of the advantages of fertilizer. Manure is sparingly soluble in water. Fertilizer is readily soluble in water. Manure is slowly absorbed by plants, whereas fertilizer is readily absorbed by the plant, that is quickly absorbed by the plant. Manure is bulky and voluminous. whereas fertilizer is compact and concentrated. Manure is not easy to transport, handle and use, whereas fertilizer is easy to handle, transport and use. Manure is cheaper. You can prepare it at home also, whereas fertilizer is costlier. Manure is biodegradable, whereas fertilizer is non-biodegradable. It is very important. Manure can be decomposed and fertilizer cannot be decomposed. Manure is eco-friendly and it do not causes pollution, whereas fertilizer is not eco-friendly and it causes water and soil pollution. Manure do not kill useful organism. Fertilizer may kill useful organism. Manure does not change the acidity or alkalinity of soil, whereas fertilizer can change acidity or alkalinity of the soil. So you have seen that there are a lot of differences between manure and fertilizer. There are some advantages and disadvantages of both. Meanwhile, manure is more better than fertilizer. Now let us see about organic farming. Organic farming means where there is minimum or no use of chemicals such as fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, etc. Only manure and compost can be used here. We may use the biofertilizers made up of blue-green algae, neem leaves or turmeric for grain storage, and these are used as biopesticides. Given figures show how organic farming can be achieved. It can be achieved by using green leaf manure, crop rotation, biological management, animal husbandry, use of biofertilizer, use of manures, use of vermicompost, etc. So these are the different ways by which we can achieve the organic farming. Irrigation also plays an important role in crop production improvement. So let us see what is irrigation. It is the supply of water to crop fields, as water is necessary for proper growth and development of plants and also helps in increasing the productivity of crops. There are different methods for irrigation such as wells, canals, rivers, tanks, check dams, etc. Besides these, some modern methods like drip irrigation, sprinkler system are also used nowadays in agricultural crop field. It helps in reduction of water loss as well as providing uniform water to all crops. Now the question arises in our mind that how efficiency of irrigation can be achieved. It can be increased by selecting appropriate crop and cropping system, by providing water at appropriate time and in optimum quantity. When we water the plant, then there is severe growth of weeds. So we have to control the weeds to increase the efficiency of irrigation. Efficiency of irrigation can be also increased by time scheduling operation and also by controlling pests. Let us see in details about the different methods of irrigation. First is about wells, which are of two types, dug well and tube wells. The difference between these two types of well is that in dug well, water is collected from water bearing strata, whereas in tube well, water is collected from deeper strata. Second one is canal. Actually, canal receives water from reservoir or rivers. Here, the main canal is distributed into branch canal, and branch canal is distributed into distributaries to irrigate different crop field. Now let us see what is river lift system. In this, water is lifted from rivers to irrigate those crop fields which are very close to rivers. It is more useful in those areas where canal flow is insufficient or irregular due to inadequate water release. Next one is tank. In this method, water is stored in a small reservoir from a small catchment area and can be further used to irrigate crop field. Now it is about check dams. Check dams are used to stop rainwater from flowing away. It helps to increase groundwater level as well as also helps in reducing soil erosion. These are the figures to show about different methods of irrigations which are commonly used. The given figure shows about how from river the water is taken from main canal and from main canal to branch canal and further to distributaries. Finally, distributaries distributed water to crop field. So, how it is? River it goes to main canal to branch canal, and branch canal helps in distribution of water to different crop fields. Crop production improvement can also be done by cropping pattern. It means different ways of cropping patterns are responsible for maximum yield. Cropping pattern may be mixed cropping, intercropping and crop rotation. First we will see about mixed cropping. Mixed cropping means growing of two or more crops simultaneously in the same field. Example, wheat and gram are grown together, wheat and mustard are grown together, groundnut and sunflower, soya bean and pigeon pea, maize and urad bean, cotton and mung bean, etc. The advantage of mixed cropping is that if one crop fails to grow, then the other is ready for production. The given figure is about mixed cropping. Here you can observe two different types of crops are grown in one field. Next one is intercropping. Here two or more crops are grown simultaneously in the same field, but in a definite row pattern. Example of intercropping are maize and soybean, millet and cowpea, bajra and lobia, etc. In intercropping, crop with different nutrient requirement are selected for better use of nutrients and also prevents spreading of diseases to all plants of the same crop. It also saves times and labors of farmers, as farmer can harvest and thresh both crops separately. Why? Because they are not mixed but they are sown in rows. In this figure you can see different rows of different crop plant. So it is very easy to the farmer in harvesting and threshing processes. The last one is crop rotation. As the name indicates, one crop is rotated with other. Meaning thereby is that growing different crops in the same field in succession, one by one. For example, growing leguminous crop after growing cereal crop. This helps to increase the fertility of soil. Why? In leguminous crops, rhizobium, that is nitrogen fixing bacteria, is present, and that increases the nitrogen content of the soil. By this method, in a year, 2 or more crops are obtained. It is also helping in weed control and improve the fertility of soil. It also saves lot of nitrogenous fertilizers. In the given figure, one example is given about crop rotation. Here after rice, cotton is shown, and after cotton, cowpea is shown, and again after cowpea, rice is shown. So in this way, crop rotation is done for maximum productivity. Let us see what are the criteria for selection of crop rotation. First criteria is about the availability of water or moisture through rain or irrigation. Second one is about nutrient status of soil. Third is about availability of inputs, that is fertilizers, pesticides, manpower, machine power. These are required during agricultural practices. Next one is about duration of crops. Crops may be short or long duration. Last one is about marketing and processing factor. This is very important. This should be ready. So children, this is all about today's online session. In the next session, we will discuss about crop protection management and few more concepts of this lesson. Thank you and have a nice day. For any kind of doubts, please write your question in comment section.